Hi guys, we're here at the NAMM Show on the British Drum Co stand with Mr. Al Murray, and he's going to talk us through some snare drums. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks.
This is my first NAMM, so I'm like an excited piglet, rolling around in the mud in my sty. So welcome to our snare drum range. Now, people who've been keeping track of what we're doing might be familiar with some of these drums, and it's kind of like a beauty contest. This, but they're all. I think they're all amazing. At the top here, this is a drum called the Archer. Now, it's called that because it's made of yew. It's made of English yew, which you would have had in a longbow. So the longbows at Agincourt, it's this wood, and yew is a very springy, dense, high energy, if you want, wood. And so
it's amazing grain on that.
And it's all a natural finish. So what you've not got is a veneer on this. This is yew all the way through. Rolled steel hoops, and then yew reinforcement rings. It's and this is a drum with a lot of character, I think is the best way of putting it. And then the little arrowhead label there,
oh, nice.
Laser etched label that says the Archer. And this is a I don't know how, it's sort of dirty, this drum. It's got a kind of dirty woody tone, and very responsive and kind of. I think they're all great.
Oh, yeah. I love the touch of the gold tension rods.
Yeah, the gold tension rods. It's kind of got that kind of bespoke feel, but like all of our snare drums, everything's got this kind of bespoke attention to detail. But these are all standard. This is how they come. So yeah, that's the Archer. Then beneath it, you've got both hands. Grab the next one. So this is a drum called the Aviator. This is aluminium. So and then a badge with a little bit of I think that's maple in there to back the badge. And again, this is a dead simple, straight up aluminium snare drum. So it'll sound like how people might expect. Very dry, very responsive. It's not a loud drum really. It's got that really sort of crisp recording tone that people might know from other famous aluminium drums that shall remain forever nameless. But again, you see the wooden washer in there which is laser etched. There's our hologram kite mark, a made in Britain kite mark, and this is a sweet drum, particularly for recording, I think.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Right, and then if people know about the Big Softie. Now, always the thing with this drum is it looks like a big heavy wooden drum, but it's surprisingly light, isn't it?
It doesn't feel heavy.
And that's because this is a cherry exterior veneer, cherry interior veneer, and all our veneers go into the mold with the drum. They're not added afterwards. What we don't do is make a shell and then go, oh, we need 20 black ones and 20 brown ones and 20 natural finish. This goes in with the drum and is bonded to the ply. We make our own ply and we cold mold the ply ourselves. And so the Big Softie, this came about because Ian Matthews, who's one of our partners, was on a recording session, said to Keith, I need something really, really dry but kind of buttery. And this has got a wood in it called a chroma, which is full of air bubbles. So rather than a dense wood, tensile wood like yew or birch or maple or mahogany that we use, which are heavier woods, this is a very light wood because it's full of air. So you get that kind of lighter, buttery tone. And this drum tunes up and tunes down very well. And it's called the Big Softie because that's what Ian nicknamed it when he got sent the prototype. And he's called it that. That's what it's called. That's how it got its name.
The bearing edges seem really rounded.
Yeah, it's a rounded bearing edge on this drum. Yeah. In fact, as it is on the Archer as well, they're rounded bearing edges, so you've a lot of contact between the shell and the drum head. There's the Bluebird beaded brass snare drum.
It's got a lot more weight to it.
Yeah. You really notice that when you come away from the Big Softie.
I've instantly put my dirty fingerprint.
Yeah. Well, it's going to happen.
That's a lovely finish. That chrome.
It's beautiful. It really sings the chrome, doesn't it? And again, and like all our drums, it's got our palladium lug on it, which is this kind of deco streamlined style. That's a thing we really love. That I think sort of evokes classic drum styling from the golden age of drum manufacturing.
Put that down for
Put that down, and again, that's a blue snare strainer ribbon. There's a little bit of detail. This is the Maverick. This is a maple drum. The bearing edge, yeah, that's a 30-degree bearing edge, I think. Okay. There's so many bearing edges. There's so many snare drums. And again, this is a maple drum, so I think this probably sounds as you might expect, dead ahead, warm maple sound. And then finally, and you can see this drum's been around the block at lots of shows.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Merlin. Now the Merlin is it's a hybrid birch and maple, 20 plies, 45-degree bearing edge. This I think it's a tulip veneer with the inline piping that again we make ourselves. This drum is, and like I say, I've got one of each. This drum exposes
really
the
thick shell.
Super thick shell, yeah. So 20, like I say, 20 ply. So there's lots going on in there. But this drum exposes my playing, leaves it naked.
Right.
And I love it, and I also don't like playing it for that very reason. It makes me sound entirely inadequate. Right. So those are our standard snare drums. And now, of course, we got Nicko on board.
Indeed.
And before Christmas, people will have seen that we did a Legacy of the Beast drum set with him, and you'll be talking, I think, to Nicko or someone or Keith about the drum set we made for him. But the drum set comes from the snare drums signature snares we're going to make for him. So because his Legacy of the Beast kit is just a legend series in a finish in an Exotone wrap. So here's the snare drum, the Icarus. Nicko wanted an oak drum, because the Dukes we did last year with the bog oak, the 3,000-year-old bog oak, they sounded very sweet, but the bog oak's expensive and hard to come by. So this is an oak drum with this fishtail oak on the exterior, the Icarus badge that's laser cut, and then all the plies, 10 plies of oak, and then an interior veneer of oak, and two pieces of that's a 2-ply reinforcement ring of maple in our Buckingham Scarlet finish that people may be familiar with, the very red.
Yeah, I love the black and red combo.
And
a lot of wires.
42 wires on his snare, and the black and red goes into the washers as well on the interior. So all that detail going into this drum, and it's an oak drum because he wanted a wood drum, but he also wanted a metal drum. So there's right there behind you is the Talisman. And this is a spun steel snare drum. So what you won't... Yeah, that's heavy. That's a heavier drum. What you won't find on this is a join. This isn't a welded... it's not a strip of steel turned and welded. This is spun on a lathe, on a spinning machine from a single, basically, disc of steel. And they put it on the lathe, and the lathe pushes through the steel, and you end up with this cylinder. And that's why you can see... If you look closely, you can see the line in it.
You can feel that as well.
Yeah, because it's done by a guy with a stick, basically. I mean, it's got a technical name, and there's a finished badge there, a Talisman badge.
Great.
42 snare wires, and again, like I say, a single piece of steel, and the Talisman washers. Attention to detail right inside the drum. Yeah. So those are our standard snare drums. I mean, and to be honest, so far so simple, but I really want to show you the marching drum, because the thing we've really tried to do at BDC is look at things kind of from scratch, come at them again from scratch, and this marching drum I think really exemplifies that. So this is the Regimental Series, it's called. And we've applied our shell making, so our cold press shell making to it. But there's an awful lot that goes on in the marching drum that you might not know about. So
can you talk us through the main differences?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing is marching drums have two snare drums, a top parallel snare and a bottom parallel snare. So what Alan Kitching, our design engineer, did, and this is a sweet LA groove going on over there. Right, it's such a sweet. We're really in the pocket over there. It's rather lovely. What Alan did is he's basically redesigned this drum from the bottom up. So you have a parallel snare mechanism that rather than using a spring, because weight is the really big deal with these drums, because you have to wear them. And this drum's, I think, a kilogram lighter than the competition. And when we were designing this and talking about it, I'm like, kilogram, yeah, like whatever. But then these drums were launched at the Royal Albert Hall by the Royal Marines Corps of Drums. And for half an hour at one point in the show, they were just stood there like this. And I immediately thought, well, that kilogram, I get it now. I see why that's important, because they have to wear these things. So what you've got is, you've got birch and oak in the shell. But this parallel mechanism, that's not a spring. That's a silicate wristband style spring as our parallel spring, because it's lighter than steel. And this you could retrofit this as a snare mechanism as well, as a parallel snare mechanism. And the tension's held in the frame clips up. So you tension it here and there. I mean, this has been, the engineering in this, the thinking that's gone into this, is for me on another level. The top mechanism, it has this heart-shaped piece in it, a heart-shaped plastic piece, and that's a gear that then locks that parallel snare up onto the top head, because that's the way they like it in marching. The two snare mechanisms, one on top, one on bottom. And again, that's on the silicate band. There's a celluloid strip that holds it all together that snaps it up, and you tension it the same way with a key through here. And you can adjust height and tension. So the engineering that's had to go into this, but from scratch, is sort of what we're about here at BDC. Yeah. Because Keith figured out a new way to make shells, and Alan's figured out a new way to make these mechanisms. But one last detail, sure. Right? Your camera will pick it up, I reckon. You see there down at the bottom there, there's a thing, it says Hearts of Oak are our ships, 1759. That's the Royal Navy motto, right? Because when we started, when we came to the Marines and said we've got this new drum and we really want you to take it, they got very excited about that. And the Navy got wind of it, and the Navy sent us 2 fist-sized lumps of oak from HMS Victory.
Oh wow!
Right, because they got, like, on Victory they got a wood library for repairs and for maintaining it, and they gave us 2 lumps of oak, and in there it's a Victory model. This, and I think we only made 50 of these. I may be wrong on that, and write to your local MP, right? And there is a washer in there. You see that washer that's sat on the badge? That's a piece of HMS Victory.
Oh, I see.
And these are the Victory model, and for Royal Marines, this drum's catnip. You get the effect that had, because that's completely, this completely unique. But it's about the attention and level of detail, and also for them, that's like, although these are all standard, although these drums are all the same, it's got that really personal little twist in it in the detail.
Yeah, that's an amazing piece of history there.
Yeah.
Fascinated by these, because I've never played one.
Well, nor have I, and it's the really exciting thing about this is this is another planet. It looks like a drum, it smells like a drum, but it's actually quite different to the drums you might know and might be familiar with, that people might know about. But there we are.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for showing us around.
It's my total pleasure. And there's loads more. I mean, it's not just, I've shown you the ordinary stuff. There's exciting new hardware. There's Nicko's personal kit. There's all the executive, which is very sexy. But
we're looking forward to checking it all out. Thanks.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you.